My father would come and take me on Sundays on outings, and in the summer we would go to the beach. And during the winter, because he loved water and loved to swim, he would take me to Bimini baths.
I grew up with Bimini, basically, from the time I was 5 or 6 years old.
I'm told that I could swim before I walked. I think they used the pool as a babysitter.
It was really the stepping inside that was the overwhelming experience for me.
You'd come down the street, go through the big glass doors, and you'd be in a big lobby.
To your left would have been the stairs going up to the gymnasium, and downstairs to the left would have been the little cafe, which included things like a jukebox, and I think there were some amusement machines in there.
On the right side was a great big heated pool, and you had to have a woman escort, so to speak, or a woman friend to be able to get into that pool. It was mainly for the women and their friends.
We swam, you walked around, you tried different pools, you know, there were different water temperatures, a pool for children, a little bit longer distance pool, so you just, and there were families, lots of families.
In 1942, then I went to Virgil Junior High School, which is just a half a block away from here. And so quite naturally, we would come by the pool. And some of my friends would be in there swimming in the pool, you know. And we would come by to look at them, but we couldn't come in the pool when we knew that.
But you went out the double doors, and here was almost an Olympic-size pool. And it had the big high diving board. It had a springboard next to it. And in the center of all three of these pools, they had these kind of big mushrooms where the water would come spouting out of the top and over the top. And then you could kind of sit underneath it, and the water would come down in front of you. That was a big thing. Sit under there and have water come down.
And there was a waterfall out there, too, that poured into the pool.
At the far end, they had a fountain that, I remember they had long lights that were colored, and at night the water would come down in front of these lights.
And there was also a beach. There was a doorway out to it, but there was actually sand out there, and people would go out and lay in the sand and sun themselves in the sand.
This was a wonderful place to go. It was, I think it was 25 cents to get in. You got your swimming suit, or you could take your own. You got a towel, and you got a locker. And you could stay all day. And you could stay until they closed at night if you wanted to. You didn't have to go home. You get out, you go over to the soda fountain, you could get a sandwich or milk or milkshake or whatever it might be. There were also games out there that you could play. You had a boxing game, you had a football game.
There was a gymnasium upstairs that was owned by a couple, Tony and Sam Kleiner. There was always something to do, and not to mention the fact that out and back, if you got bored, there was a huge pit. Half full of water that was sort of the bottomland or a swamp out there.
This was all marsh. All the water from the Bimini baths was going down, the excess was down to feed a big pool. And there were cattails growing down there.
And it would get relatively deep out there, and I couldn't swim at that time. I had a friend that almost drowned in there. And because we had, from the railroad track, they would come to work on them every now and then, and they would take the ties out, and they would leave them. And a couple of guys got together and put some boards on them and make a raft. And one of my friends was on one, and some other guys was splashing water on him, and his tilted, and he went into the water, and he couldn't swim either. And he was going up and down, and he might have drowned if it hadn't been for one of my friends that jumped in, white guy, and pulled him out. And because I couldn't get him out.
Bimini was built on an artesian well, and the water was, my understanding, was better than any water which is produced today as far as the mineral content is. I guess you were nobody unless you sold Bimini water.
In 1945, I went into the Navy and did my time. World War II ended. I got honorably discharged, came home, and at that time, there was a group, American Youth for Democracy, which was like a forerunner to the ACLU, and they were picketing in order to let the blacks come into the pool. This was approximately 1947, 48, but it never happened. And the picketing, they had petitions and they were marching up and down, picketing and so forth. But shortly after that, the pools closed, and they never reopened. Never reopened.
I'm sorry somehow that Bimini couldn't have remained as the cultural center that it actually was. It was at the end of the line. You know, it was the place that people went on Saturday and Sunday, and was an important part of a lot of people's lives. And now it's just gone. You know, I miss that.
Right.